while she's been involved with some of the biggest shows around the world, has survived the jungle on Channel 10's I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, and boy, can she dance. We are absolutely delighted to have Bonnie Lithgow on the Ben Robin Robbo Show. Hello, Bonnie!
Hello, Rob.
Bonnie, you've been in the entertainment industry pretty much all your life, but when you appeared into Serve with Love, was that the moment you felt as though you had made it?
Actually, it wasn't, because I didn't realize I'd made it. Because what happens, I was actually at the academy, I was actually doing class and stuff like that. And James Gaval, who came in, who was the producer, he started auditioning us, and eventually I got the job. But do you know what? I was a kid, I was a teenager, and I just thought it was like another job.
Oh,
and
you
it
just thought this
wasn't
happens to everyone. Not everyone gets to appear in a major Hollywood film.
I know, Rob. It was just because I don't know, really. We were all auditioning, and then the next I knew, I'd got the job, and then we were at studios and we were on location. And it wasn't really until we were all introduced to Sidney Poitier that I thought, this is actually quite a big film. And honestly, it's one of those strangest things that we were on that film for 6 months. And yes, it was an amazing turning point for me in my life. But at the time, I didn't really realize.
Amazing, isn't it? But then, so you've lived an extraordinary life, and I don't think many people know about your involvement with American Idol. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, actually, I was very involved with it because we were all in England. There was Nigel Lithgow, obviously. I was married to Nigel at the time, and Simon Fuller and myself, really. And Simon had a big company, and he wanted Nigel to join the company. And funnily enough, we'd been in Australia only on a holiday, and we'd seen this program called Pop Idol, I think it was.
Pop Stars, I think it was.
Okay, Pop Stars. And we were all watching it going, wow, that's a really good series. So then Nigel got hold of the people that were doing Pop Stars, and then we took it back to England. We spoke to Simon Fuller, and the next we knew, Simon wanted to do a series. So that's kind of how we started the Pop Stars in England. Isn't that amazing? It comes all the way from Australia back to England.
Yeah.
And so we did that series, and then Simon said, I think we should try doing this in America. So, oh my gosh, we had sleepless nights. So Nigel and Simon went to Fox, and they kind of said, oh, I don't think singing program, we don't think that'll really work. So I know, isn't that amazing?
Amazing.
And then 6 months it took with Nigel backwards and forwards to LA, and me really suffering all the heartache that was going on at the time, because Fox would ring at 3 in the morning and 4 in the morning just to try and see whether we could do the series or not. Anyway, eventually they said we'd give you 1 season. So Nigel, myself, Simon Fuller, we all went over to America, and obviously they did series, and I was the producer on the series for three series actually, which was great fun because, oh my gosh, when we went to New York, the crowds of young people that just wanted to sing was incredible. So it was the beginning of a huge, huge situation and series. And yes, I was involved for 3 of those.
Well, amazingly, I've heard the stories about Simon Cowell. They didn't believe he would make a good judge and didn't contract him beyond season 1, which meant he could get a big pay increase for season 2. Was that the same for Nigel and yourself? Because if they were only planning 1 season, did you end up with a big bump up when this show became the biggest thing on the planet and you guys were the makers?
Well, yeah, absolutely. It was exactly as you say. Funny enough, with Simon Cowell, we had to persuade him to actually do the series. Simon Fuller's... Yeah, we did. It was Simon Fuller has a house in the south of France. So I can't remember exactly how many of us were there, but there was a few of us. Simon Cowell was there as well. And and Simon Fuller and Nigel, not me so much, but they really tried to talk him into doing it, because, he didn't want to do that series. Simon did not want to be in front of the cameras. He was his own private person, and he wasn't interested. So when we got season 1, I know. And I watch him now and I think, oh my God.
How he's changed that tune.
Yeah, hasn't he? I mean, I watched Britain's Got Talent the other night, because I can see it here. And Simon's just so different. He's still a lovely man. I love him to death, but he's just so confident. And when I think back to the south of France and he's kind of around a dinner table chatting to him about American Idol, he wasn't that same person that he is now.
There's something you told me the other day, which I found quite extraordinary and was really the reason I wanted you to come on, because you've led this amazing life. But for most of your life, you didn't know your real father, did you?
No, no, it was quite incredible. My mum and dad got married very young, and we will name my real dad John, so we don't get confused. And they were 18 and 19 when they got married, and I was born, and they were seemingly happily married. I was a kid till I was about 3 or 4. And then something happened, and suddenly my mum took me to my grandparents, and I never saw my dad. And you know what? It's a terrible thing when you're a 3 or 4 year old and you don't know what's going on. You know, you're aware that you have a dad, but then suddenly your dad disappears. And I seem to be spending more and more time with my grandparents. And then Mum said to me that she wasn't going, her marriage was over. I mean, again, I was very small, and I had a new father in my life who I have to say was an incredibly wonderful man called David. And I then moved in with Mum and my stepfather, and he really did his best to really be a father to me. But I think somewhere along the line, I just wanted to find out the true history. And then I kind of grew up, and when I got to marry Nigel, I found out an address, and I'm 3 the Dell, Chigwell, sorry. And this address was, somehow I found out that that's where my father lived. So I sent him 2 or 3 or 4 letters to say, hey, I'm around, but I never heard a thing. And it wasn't until 3 years ago that my youngest son, Christopher, said, Mum, what did happen to your dad? And I said, I don't know. I just don't know. So he started delving and said, you know what, Mum? There's no death certificate. He said, I think he's still alive. I said, you're kidding me.
Wow.
So then I know. So then he found out that there was a Joyce, which was my mum's name, and a John that were married there. And then he went further and found out that there was a Rafe Jones. So then he searched on Facebook, and lo and behold, he had about 4 or 5. So he rang them all. And I mean, honestly, so he said, Mum, I found your brother. And I went, you're kidding me? She said, no, he lived. This is the weird thing, Rob. He lived in Epping. Now, I don't know if you know England at all, but I live in a little village called Cuffley. Okay, so I live in a little village called Cuffley, and 15 minutes away was where my real father lived.
No.
And my brother, yeah, 15 minutes away. And the address that I did have, he did live there, but he had moved on to this other address. So Christopher rang Rafe. Oh, it's making me go chilly thinking about it.
But then you met your dad, didn't you? But you didn't get a lot of time with him.
No, Rafe arranged to meet us in Epping in a restaurant, and oh gosh, that first meeting, he hadn't really changed from my memory, but just got older, and he walked towards me, and I didn't really know what to do. I just put my arms around him, I think, and just held him tight and said, Dad, I'm so happy to see you again. And he was a bit lost for words too. It was it was nice having it over a dinner, but it was a kind of a quick it's really hard, Rob, because how do you speak to somebody that you haven't seen for 60 or 65, 60 years?
Yeah, there's a big gap there, isn't there?
Yes, it was a tremendous gap there, and I was very on edge. I was very nervous, but we did. And his wife was there, Sheila, who he'd been married to for a long time, and we planned on meeting again. And we met several times after that, actually. And I got to know him so much better. And what I discovered was, because I wanted the pieces, there were too many pieces missing, and I wanted to find out. And he said to me that he fought for custody. I didn't even know that he wanted me to live with him, but unfortunately he had lost. And I said, but why did you leave me? Why did you just leave me with a stepfather that at the time I didn't know. And he said it was because he felt that my stepfather was in the middle classes, and he felt that the life that I had with him would be so much better than the life he could offer me.
Oh,
I said, but that doesn't, yeah, I know, that's what he said. And so he said he felt that he couldn't really be involved in my life and give me the life that he felt that I should have. And so he just walked away, just completely walked away. And it was funny because when I was about 12 or 13, my mum wanted me to legally be adopted by and have the surname of Shaw with David, to which I said, yeah, that's fine. At the time, I didn't know him. And then when I met my dad and we got to talk a lot, he said one of the hardest things was when he found out that I took away his name. And I had no idea. I said, well, I wouldn't have done, but I just didn't know. Anyway, he sadly died now. He died a year ago. And I
so you
had the
didn't
most
get a lot
wonderful
of time with him in the scheme of things, did you? But you got some time, and you got some closure, would you call it?
I did, Rob. I did definitely got. He was just such a beautiful man to know, and I'm so miss him. I'm so miss growing up with him and knowing him. But I did get closure because I understood that he wanted me to have a better life. As it happened, it turned out that he had a pretty good life in the end as well. After he died, my brother Rafe, who, as I told you, were really close, he brought round an old chest to the house. He said, Bonnie, you need to have this. And I said, what is it? And I opened it up. He had every cutting of everything I had done from when I went to junior school, senior school, when I got to Serve with Love, all the cuttings from that, everything from when I went into the young generation. I did a children's TV series called Sooty. He kept it.
He had it all.
He did, Rob. It's very sad.
And amazing he got that closure before he died too, Bonnie, because it's an amazing story of reconnecting, and especially when you're only 15 minutes apart. Bonnie, you really have led the most extraordinary life from your career to your personal life. It has just been amazing. So, look, I can't wait to have a few drinks with you in the near future, but I'm glad you're doing well, and enjoy Australia while you're stuck here.
Thank you very much, Rob. I shall certainly enjoy Australia while I'm stuck here.
Thank you, Bonnie. We appreciate you being on the Ben, Rob and Robbo show. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Rob. Bye.
It's a Ben, Rob and Robbo, Ben, Rob and Robbo, Ben, Rob and Robbo show.